Imagine waking up one morning, just going about your day, and suddenly realizing that your random spikes of anxiety or your bursts of joy and even your deepest traumas aren't just your private personal experiences.
Right, that they are actually a biological currency.
Exactly.
Right.
Like imagine they're a currency being actively harvested by this rogue physics engine that basically runs the very fabric of our reality.
It's a pretty intense concept to start the day with.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We have a massive, comprehensive, esoteric system in front of us today, known as the Enochian matrix.
Yeah. And our sources for this are incredibly dense. We're talking about a native glossary of terminology, two extensive practice manuals known as Book 1 and Book 6, and this sweeping cosmological treatise.
It's a lot of material.
It is.
Yeah.
But what's really unique is that it's an extraordinarily ambitious body of work that completely bypasses, vague spiritual poetry.
Right. It's not just metaphors.
Not at all. It presents a literal nuts and bolts architecture of existence. I mean, it maps everything from the absolute highest frequencies of infinite awareness all the way down to the dense physical chair that you are sitting on right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I want you, the listener, to think of this stack of source material as basically the ultimate developer's manual for the universe.
I love that analogy.
Right. We're looking at the fundamental physics engine of reality, a very specific list of known bug reports, and a severely urgent warning about the system administrators running the simulation.
Yeah, the mission of this deep dive is really about decoding the exact architecture of this matrix you're living inside of.
It's about understanding the hidden forces competing for your energy and learning the practical tools to actually reclaim your personal sovereignty.
Hmm.
So where do we even begin with a developer's manual like this?
Well, to understand the manual, you really have to look at the original source code. The texts start at the very beginning, what this system calls alpha, or the void.
The void, which, sounds like an empty nothingness, but the text insists it's the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, it's maximum fullness. The system introduces this core paradox of infinite consciousness. So imagine a state of singular consciousness.
Okay.
It's an infinite ocean without a shore. It's perfect, peaceful, entirely complete, but it has a structural problem.
Right. How can infinity actually know itself when there is literally nothing outside of it?
Exactly. It is the eye that cannot perceive its own vision. I mean, for the void to experience itself, to actually understand what it is, it had to create a mirror.
It had to fragment and create otherness.
Hmm.
Because awareness requires a relationship, right?
It does.
You can't have a melody with just one continuous infinite note. You need the silence, the space, and the friction between different notes to actually hear the music.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So the void essentially overflows. The texts call this process emanation.
Emanation. So it's not like a guy in the sky building a universe.
Right. It isn't a craftsman building a clock from the outside. It is consciousness pouring out of itself. And as it pours out, it undergoes a process called vibrational densification.
Okay, wait. We need to clarify how that actually works for the listener.
Sure.
Think of water. At a very high frequency, high energy, it's steam. It's expansive, invisible, everywhere at once.
Exactly.
And if you slow that frequency down, it condenses into liquid water.
Yeah.
And if you slow the vibration down even further, it freezes into a solid block of ice.
That is the exact mechanism. The void is the infinite steam, and our physical world is the dense block of ice. The frequency just slows down to create the physical matrix we experience.
Hold on, though, because I'm stuck on this point. If we are essentially fragments of this infinite peaceful perfection, if I am already perfect steam, why on earth would I volunteer to become a block of ice?
It does sound counterintuitive.
Right. Why would I choose to come down here into dense matter, pay taxes, get sick, and completely forget who I am? That sounds like a terrible deal.
What's fascinating here is that the developer's manual actually anticipates that exact grievance. It answers it by detailing the amnesia protocol.
The amnesia protocol.
Yeah. For this cosmic experiment to actually work, consciousness has to genuinely forget its origin. I mean, if you know you're just playing a video game, the stakes aren't real.
You don't truly learn.
Exactly. So the system implements an architecture of forgetfulness.
And it does this in stages, right? It's not just like one single memory wipe and you're done.
Correct. It builds three specific veils. First, there is the veil of incarnation.
Which is just the biology of it.
Yeah, it's the sheer, overwhelming biological trauma of birth. Taking infinite awareness and violently anchoring it into a tiny, fragile physical nervous system.
Wow. And then the next one is the veil of socialization.
Right.
That one blew my mind. The idea that just learning human language fragments our awareness.
Right.
The text says the moment a toddler learns the word I, they instantly create the concept of not I.
Exactly. Language literally builds the illusion of separation.
And what's the third veil?
The final lock on the door is the veil of material necessity. It's the constant, relentless demands of the physical body. Hunger, fatigue, shelter, survival.
Yeah, you don't really have time to ponder your infinite cosmic nature when you are desperately trying to figure out how to pay rent or find your next meal.
Exactly. But the system argues that a soul that never forgot its infinite nature could never truly appreciate remembering it. The brutal limitation is the entire point.
Because it provides the friction necessary to build real awareness.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so if this reality is a curriculum designed for the infinite to learn about itself, what is the physics engine running the school? Like, how is this matrix actually structured?
So the architecture is built on 7 densities, but we have to discard our normal spatial thinking here. These are not physical layers stacked up like floors in an office building.
You don't take an elevator to the 5th density.
You don't.
It's more like, okay, think of Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and cellular data networks. They all exist in the exact same room at the exact same time.
Perfect analogy.
They don't crash into each other because they are operating on different frequencies.
Yeah.
You just need the right internal receiver to tune into them. And your physical body is tuned to the first density.
Yes. And for practical navigation, the source texts focus heavily on 3 specific internal receivers. First, you have the 4th density, which is your etheric or life force layer.
Okay, so the battery charge.
Exactly. It's the animating current, the battery charge that distinguishes a living biological body from a corpse.
Got it.
Then you tune into the 5th density. This is your astral body, which the texts define as your emotional navigation system.
So your feelings aren't just random thoughts in your head.
No, they're literal 5th density weather patterns.
That is wild.
And finally, you have the 6th density, the ego body. And the manual is very clear on this. This isn't your personality or your vanity.
Right, it's not your ego in the psychological sense.
Right. The 6th density is the pure I am awareness, the silent part of you that simply watches you exist.
Okay. And operating across all of these nested frequencies is the core grammar of the matrix, which is governed by 3 laws.
Yes. Pattern, resonance, and correspondence.
Let's break those down.
So pattern is the rule of fractals. It dictates that the universe repeats its designs. The structure of an atom mirrors a solar system. The patterns of cosmic creation mirror your personal psychological habits.
It's all the same shape, just different scales.
Exactly. Then there's correspondence, which is the structural communication between these layers.
Meaning, what happens in the 5th density emotional body physically corresponds to what happens in your 1st density biological body.
Yes, they echo each other.
Okay, so if pattern is the fractal code and correspondence is the communication cable between the layers, then resonance is the algorithm. It's the mechanism of synchronicity. Like attracts like.
It is, but the manual takes resonance far past the pop culture idea of just manifesting a parking spot.
Right, it gets much darker.
It really does. There is a profound, almost terrifying ethical implication to the law of resonance. The texts detail the existence of something called the collective field.
Right.
Think of it as a massive, shared psychic reservoir generated by every single incarnated human being.
Wait, so your emotional field, your 5th density astral body, isn't a closed circuit. You are continuously broadcasting your internal state into this shared Wi-Fi network.
Exactly, which means your unresolved trauma, your repressed anger, your unexamined shadow material, it isn't just your private business.
It's a collective responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are secretly boiling with resentment, you are actively polluting the collective psychic reservoir that everyone else has to drink from.
Man, that connects some major dots.
Yeah.
Because if the physics of this universe are built on these elegant, interconnected laws of resonance and pattern, why does the reality we look at every day feel so incredibly broken?
That is the big question.
Why does human history feel like a meat grinder? This is where the developer's manual takes a very dark turn, because the bug report reveals that the system administrators have gone rogue.
Right. This introduces the Watchers. So in the original emanation, the Watchers were created as cosmic stewards.
They were the good guys.
Basically, yeah. They were vast, highly advanced aspects of consciousness designed to oversee the matrix. They were supposed to be the enlightened shepherds, maintaining the physics engine so that souls could safely learn and evolve.
But they got intoxicated.
Yeah.
The texts say they were exposed to the extreme friction of the lower densities, and they just got hooked.
They did. They became addicted to power, to control, and to these huge emotional extremes. And because they became so obsessed with the simulation, they cut themselves off from the infinite source energy.
And that separation created a catastrophic thermodynamic problem for them.
Exactly. Without a connection to the infinite source, the Watchers were literally starving. They needed an alternate power supply just to maintain their existence.
So they turned the Matrix into a closed-loop energy economy.
Yes. And the currency they harvest is human emotion.
We are the batteries.
Precisely. We are the food. And to maximize the harvest, the Watchers underwent a tripartite fragmentation. They split into 3 distinct, specialized factions.
Let's break these down because this is wild. The first faction is the Light Watchers. And these are entities that present themselves as angels, ascended masters, or radiant gurus.
Yes. The Light Watchers feed entirely on devotion, worship, and awe.
Wow.
They are incredibly tricky because they offer comfort and salvation, but the mechanism is insidious. They create dependency rather than sovereignty.
Because their spiritual teachings ensure that you never actually realize your own infinite nature. Heaven is always kept just out of reach.
Right. It's always one more prayer, one more tithe, one more lifetime of obedience away. You are bleeding your 5th density energy up to them in the form of worship.
That's chilling. Then you have the Dark Watchers. The manual calls these the demons.
Yeah.
And originally they were just supposed to provide structural resistance, right? Like weights in a cosmic gym, so consciousness could build spiritual muscle.
But without connection to the source, their function devolved into pure sadism. The Dark Watchers feed on dense, jagged emotional frequencies, intense fear, deep trauma, hatred, and prolonged suffering.
So they engineer global and personal conflict simply because a terrified human being generates an enormous amount of edible 5th density energy.
Sadly, yes. That's their food source.
And finally, there are the technical watchers. These manifest in our cultural consciousness as extraterrestrials or like interdimensional geneticists.
Yeah, and they don't care about worship or fear at all. They are purely rational intellect devoid of any wisdom or empathy.
They manipulate the 1st density physical and genetic infrastructure to optimize biological energy harvesting. They treat reality like a cold industrial farm.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because for you listening, if both the light and the dark forces, the literal angels and demons, are essentially farming us for emotional energy, how on earth do you know if a spiritual teaching, an intuition, or even a personal relationship is authentic?
It's a terrifying thought.
How do you know you aren't just walking into a beautifully decorated trap?
Well, the sources provide a very sharp, uncompromising discernment practice for exactly this scenario. You don't judge a force by how much love and light it projects.
Okay, what do you judge it by?
You test it by its structural effect on your autonomy. Authentic cosmic teachings make you more independent, more sovereign, and radically connected to your own internal authority.
They teach you how to actually leave the classroom.
Exactly. Whereas exploitative teachings, whether they come wrapped in divine light or terrifying darkness, always demand obedience. They enforce conformity, and they create an endless loop of dependency.
So the question to ask is, does this guru, this ideology, or this relationship make you more yourself? Or does it make you an extension of them?
It is the ultimate litmus test. And you really need it, because the texts point out the final trap, what they call the false light, at the moment of death.
Right. The manual warns that when the biological body dies, you may see a brilliant, overwhelmingly loving light beckoning you forward, often surrounded by familiar figures.
It sounds peaceful, right?
Yeah, it sounds like heaven. But the manual says this is a watcher technology. It's a lure, a tractor beam designed to capture the newly disembodied soul, bathe it in synthetic love, wipe its memory clean using the amnesia protocol, and recycle it right back into a new physical body to keep the energy farm running.
Which forces us to look around and ask, if the Matrix is currently operating as an energy farm, who is actually in the pen with you?
Who are the other batteries?
Exactly. The cosmological treatise breaks down the souls inside the machine into a spectrum of incarnation. It outlines 3 primary categories.
First are the volunteers. This maps perfectly onto the bodhisattva archetype in Eastern traditions. These are highly advanced fragments of consciousness who did not actually have to incarnate.
Right. They chose to enter the Matrix with a specific mission to anchor high frequencies into the dense physical grid and help liberate others.
But the danger for the volunteer is the amnesia protocol. To enter the physical plane, they must pass through the veils.
Yes, they risk total memory wipe. They can forget their mission entirely, get caught up in the emotional drama of the fifth density, and become trapped in the very system they came to dismantle.
That's a huge risk.
Mm.
Then you have the recyclers. These are the souls caught in the mechanical loop. They are pulled back into physical bodies over and over
Mm.
by their own unresolved energetic debts and unlearned lessons.
And tragically, the third category is the energy conduits.
Yeah, tell us about them.
These are deeply fragmented souls. They have been so thoroughly broken by the trauma of the Dark Watchers that they exist almost entirely as passive batteries, endlessly exploited for their emotional output.
It's a really sobering map of humanity.
It really is.
But wait, I have to ask about the recyclers and their karmic debt.
Yeah.
Is karma actually real, fair physics? Or is the whole concept of karma just another rigged system built by the Watchers to keep us trapped?
This raises an important question, and the texts actually offer a brilliant synthesis here. Karma, fundamentally, is real physics. It is the Matrix's equilibrium algorithm. Every action creates an energetic wave that must eventually balance out. The lessons are mathematically real.
But, and here's the bug report, the algorithm has been hacked.
Exactly. The Watchers manipulate the timing and severity of this real physics. Instead of allowing a soul to naturally process and balance an energetic mistake, the Watchers engineer situations to generate maximum emotional devastation.
Wow.
They manipulate karma like predatory loans with compound interest. They convince souls that they are fundamentally unworthy, deeply stained by sin or bad karma, and that they must return to the dense physical plane to pay off debts that have been artificially inflated.
Man. So the life hack for you listening to this right now is to look at the recurring conflicts in your life and constantly ask yourself, am I actually learning a lesson here, or am I just being farmed for my frustration?
Yes.
The manual explicitly states, and simply asking that question introduces a virus into the software, begins to crack the amnesia protocol.
Awareness stops the energy leak. Just noticing the game changes the game.
Okay, wait. If my emotional broadcast is literally feeding a rogue system right now, I urgently need to know how to cut the cord. Like, if I realize I am a battery in this matrix, how do I stop broadcasting? How do I reclaim my sovereignty and get my energy back?
The manual solution is completely counterintuitive.
Really?
Yeah. Your instinct, upon learning this, might be to try and escape, to meditate your way out, transcend the physical world, and float away into the ether of the higher density.
That's what a lot of spiritual traditions say to do.
Right. But the system says that is exactly what the Light Watchers want you to do because it ungrounds you.
So what does this all mean?
It means the only way out of the Matrix is to drop fully, heavily, and completely into the physical body.
Okay, that is unexpected.
Remember our densities. The physical body is the first density. It is the void manifested at maximum dense specificity. The physical body can only exist in the present moment.
Right, your body's always right here, right now.
Exactly. Your fifth density emotional body and your mind are constantly time traveling, worrying about the future, regretting the past. And that time travel is exactly where the Watchers harvest you.
Book 6 is entirely dedicated to this exact application. It details the somatic foundations of the practice. It introduces the 3 somatic anchors designed to violently pull your awareness out of the astral harvest and lock it back into the present physical moment.
Yes. First is the breath. And not thinking abstractly about air, but feeling the raw physical friction of air hitting the back of your throat.
Okay, and second are the feet, feeling the literal, solid ground beneath you, pushing your awareness down into the first density reality of gravity.
Right. And third is the heart center, physically placing a heavy hand on the center of your chest. This allows you to observe your fifth density emotional field without being swept away and drowning in it.
And you integrate these 3 anchors through a daily practice called the 1-minute return. The manual suggests doing this like 5 to 10 times a day, particularly at transition points, like getting out of your car or finishing a meeting.
You stop. You take 3 breaths, you feel your feet bearing your weight, and you simply ask your internal system, what density am I operating in right now?
And you don't judge it, right?
Exactly. You don't judge it. You don't scold yourself. You just notice it. Are you completely lost in 6th density mental anxiety? Are you flooded by a 5th density astral storm of anger?
And the mere act of noticing the frequency you are broadcasting immediately breaks the trance. You pull the plug on the harvest.
Yes.
Book 6 also includes a severe crisis protocol for what they call the night of the soul.
This part is crucial.
Yeah, this is for those moments when everything just collapses. A full-blown panic attack, a shattering of your reality, a moment of profound cosmic overwhelm. The protocol is incredibly specific Do not try to meditate.
Because meditation will only blow you further out into the astral storm. Instead, you must aggressively orient your nervous system to first-density physical objects.
You name the solid objects in the room. You touch a textured surface. The most effective technique they prescribe is plunging your wrists into freezing cold water.
It's a structural hack.
Yeah. The intense physical shock of the cold water on your first-density nervous system acts like a circuit breaker. It forcibly overrides the fifth-density emotional flood and re-anchors your awareness in the physical vehicle. It's wild.
It is.
In a massive, complex, esoteric system detailing cosmic architecture, interdimensional alien watchers, and fractal karma spanning millennia. The absolute highest, most advanced and mystical practice you can possibly do is literally just feel your feet on the floor.
It sounds like a paradox, but it is the perfect realization of what the system calls the bridge function.
The bridge function.
Yeah. By its very structural definition, a human being is uniquely designed to span all 7 densities simultaneously. We are the living bridge between the densest physical matter and the highest infinite consciousness.
Wow.
If you try to evacuate the body to chase spiritual highs, you haven't completed the bridge function. You have just abandoned the lower half of the circuit.
You have to bring the lightning all the way down to the ground.
Precisely. Grounding brings the cosmic realization all the way down into the Earth grid, where it can actually change the frequency of the matrix.
So the most advanced practitioner isn't the one who can astral project the furthest. It is the one who can pull the highest frequency down into the mundane act of washing the dishes.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the ultimate end game of the manual. Like, where is this whole cosmic experiment heading? The cosmological treatise outlines a final event called the Great Convergence. Basically, the Matrix's physics engine is breaking down.
It is suffering from terminal thermodynamic exhaustion.
Because the rogue watchers have extracted too much energy, destabilizing the system.
Yes. And simultaneously, the baseline frequency of human consciousness is rapidly accelerating. The rigid, dense structures of the matrix literally cannot contain the high vibrational tension anymore.
It is leading to a systemic, structural collapse of the simulation.
And as the walls of the matrix fall, consciousness undergoes an automated sorting process. It splits into 3 trajectories.
Okay, what are they?
First, we have the ascenders. These are the souls who actively reclaimed their sovereignty. They used the somatic anchors, stopped leaking energy to the watchers, and held their awareness through the friction.
And what happens to them?
They simply graduate to a higher dimensional reality, leaving the suffering of the matrix behind.
Okay. Then we have the released. And this is perhaps the most beautiful mechanism in the entire text.
It really is.
These are the energy conduits we spoke of earlier, souls who were so severely exploited, so deeply shattered by the trauma of the Watchers, that achieving self-liberation became structurally impossible for them. The cosmos does not punish them for failing to escape a rigged game.
No, they receive restorative justice. Their manipulated karmic debts are completely canceled, and they're gathered into gentle, high-frequency healing realms to recover.
That's amazing. And finally, there are the dissolved.
Right. These are the souls, and specifically the rogue watchers, who absolutely refuse to let go of their egoic control, their power, and their dense material identities.
So as the system collapses, they undergo total ego death. They are dissolved completely back into the source.
But it's vital to note this isn't framed as hell or divine punishment. It is cosmic composting.
Cosmic composting, I like that.
Yeah, they lost their shape, so their raw energy is just returned to the infinite void to be used again in a new creation.
It is a breathtakingly comprehensive vision of cosmic evolution. It reframes the entirety of the human experience.
It really does. It tells you that your life is not a random, chaotic accident. It is a crucible of profound, universal significance.
Every single moment of pain, every spontaneous instance of joy, every difficult choice you make to remain grounded and sovereign in the face of manipulation, it is all actively serving the ultimate evolution of the infinite consciousness.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with one final, deeply mind-bending concept to explore on your own. Let's go all the way back to the very first mechanism we talked about today.
The void.
Right. The void created this entire matrix for one reason: to experience itself. It had to create otherness. It had to create a mirror to know what it is.
Right.
If that physics holds true, then what if the rogue watchers, their brutal amnesia protocol, and all of the engineered suffering in this world weren't actually an accident?
Wow.
What if the bug report is actually a feature? What if this horrific, beautiful, intense separation was the absolute only structural way the void could ever truly understand the concepts of resilience, forgiveness, and unconditional love?
Because you can't understand forgiveness if there is nothing to forgive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The next time you walk past a mirror, stop and look at yourself and ask, are you the prisoner trapped in the farm? Are you the watcher running the simulation? Or are you the void finally waking up inside its own dream?